Thanksgiving is nearing, and I'm most thankful for LaSalle Athletics being on a roll with 5 combined wins between women's basketball, volleyball, swimming since our last show. Girl power. Hello, I'm Gia Lancey.
And I'm Tyler Small. There was the Michael Jordan flu game, the Kirk Gibson walk-off home run, and now Gia Lancey coming on desk and overcoming what could have been on her deathbed. You're watching LaSalle TV's home for Explorer Athletics, SportsLine.
Welcome to SportsLine. Women's basketball had an outstanding weekend when they beat a Power 5 conference team. I'll give you a hint. We are not.
Interesting. And later, we will talk about this remarkable week with the women's basketball's own Kate Hill.
But first, let's take a look at our SportsLine top 3.
Number 1 comes from the women's basketball team's first ever win against Penn State and their first win over a Power 5 conference team since 2015 when they defeated Miami. Penn State won the previous 5 games against Salle, leading into the matchup and found themselves on a 20-point advantage at halftime. With seconds remaining in the third quarter, LaSalle was still behind by 21 points. The Explorers scored 30 points in a quarter for just the second time since the NCAA has switched women's basketball over to 4 quarters instead of 2 halves in 2015. We will have more on the women's basketball team later in recaps.
Number 2 takes to the volleyball court as LaSalle's all-time assist leader, Catherine Wood, earned Setter of the Year. The honor comes after she led the A10 in assists and broke LaSalle's record for career assists. Her play this year assisted the Explorers to earn a spot in the A10 playoffs. For more on that, stick around for this week's Explorer Report.
Number 3 is sophomore Sarah Rosetto and Zachary Wolbert, who were named to the Atlantic 10 Performers of the Week. Rosetto won on the women's side for her performance against Stony Brook. She recorded 3 first-place finishes, beating everyone in the 200 free with a time of 1 minute 54 seconds, the 200 back in 2 minutes and 5 seconds, and the 200 intermediate by touching in 2 minutes and 8 seconds. Wolbert was named to the conference's top male performers for his 2-win weekend against NJIT. He outswam the competition both in the 100 fly and 200 fly. He also helped the men's team place first in the 400 medley relay. The duo will be back to Kirkpool shortly after the Explorers host Villanova for a Big 5 showdown.
So let's just talk about Katie Wood for a second and appreciate her.
Let's.
I mean, she's literally been such a stellar player here at LaSalle, and even years prior. In high school, she had a career record of 1,717 assists.
Unbelievable.
Her freshman year, she was named to the A10 All-Rookie team. And her junior year, she also won Setter of the Year. So 2 times in a row.
Yeah, back-to-back. I mean, she has over 1,000 assists this season with 1,035. And I know that she has all these amazing accolades, but you know the thing in the front of her mind are these A10 playoffs.
Oh,
and
definitely.
the number 5 seed Explorers, which we'll get into, being able to
Yes.
possibly shock everyone.
Yeah.
So it's really been impressive, everything that she's been able to do. Along with that would be our 2 swimming partners, both one on the men's, one on the women's. Just unbelievable how we don't usually talk about them a lot on this show, but every week in recaps when we get to them, it's always something with these 2 names and something impressive.
Definitely, yeah. And I mean, this week, I know the women's were really killing it. So,
So a very impressive couple wins. But speaking of the women's basketball team, they started their week off against the Penn State Lions, and we're going to talk more about that when we get to them. But first, before that, it was with Harvard when they beat them by 45 a season ago. Our Miles Williams was at the game as the Explorers were seeking revenge.
The Explorers squared off against Harvard on November 15th at Tom Golo Arena. Harvard opened the game on fire, jumping out to a 9-0 lead before LaSalle answered with the layup down low. Midway through the quarter, Deja King cut LaSalle's deficit to 2, while Harvard ended on a 6-3 run. The second quarter was more of the same. LaSalle continued to struggle while Harvard didn't miss. The third quarter, however, was a completely different game. LaSalle tightened up on defense, forcing turnovers and getting in the rhythm on the offensive side. Claire Jacobs started things off with 7 straight points, and LaSalle eventually cut Harvard's lead down to 1. The fourth was back and forth down to the wire. Amy Jacobs started and ended a 6-0 run that gave the Explorers their first lead of the game. Harvard attempted to extend the game, but that didn't work as Deja King hit 7 straight free throws, gave LaSalle a 75-69 win. For SportsLine, I'm Miles Williams.
The Explorers then traveled to the University Park to take on the Power 5 school Penn State. The game started with LaSalle scoring the first 5 points before things went back to the status quo, with Penn State leading after the first, 17-14. The Lady Lions kept the rally in the second quarter, outscoring the Explorers 24-7 and taking a 41-21 lead into the half. Things were going as expected for the Nittany Lions until LaSalle started to chip away at the Penn State lead in the third. Led by the Jacobs sisters, the Explorers started to rally in the fourth quarter. Each sister scored in the double digits as LaSalle was hot from the field, shooting 61% and outscoring the Lady Lions 33-13. With 9 seconds left in the final frame, freshman Jordan Lewis sunk a layup to take the lead for LaSalle, completing the comeback and upset for Penn State.
The men's basketball team looked to rebound from their loss to Big Five rival Penn in a matchup against another Big Five opponent in Temple. I was there to see how it went down.
On November 16th, the Explorers hosted the 2-0 Temple Owls at home, and it was all Owls early, as Pierre Lewis finds Moore in the corner for 3. The thorns on Quentin Rose must have been sharp today, as he finishes a wide-open jam for 2 of his 18 points. The Explorers D would tighten up quick, as Akeem, with a head of steam, finishes the steal over the big. LaSalle's fast break scoring would continue, as Salle furiously finishes at the rim. Hiroshima Park would win the next rim battle, as Temple led big at half, up 36-22. But mama, there goes that man again, as Fury finishes the and-1 for 11 points. The Explorers would need points quick, and it would come courtesy of 3-point shooting. First Kenny, then Spencer, then Stone, then Spencer once again would bring the Explorers to within a 2-possession game. The near comeback meant full court press time, which is perfect for Moore to show his passion for traveling. The Owls would hold on late, however, winning 70-65 on the road to improve to 3-0 as the Explorers fall to 1-2.
So yeah, the men's team, they still have a lot of season to play, obviously, but they're a very inconsistent team right now, and I think it's just because they are so young, and they've been making those young mistakes, and it's obvious. And the leading scorer changes from game to game, and that's it's so tough because it's of the inconsistency. Yeah,
you're right. I mean, it's a lot of youth, but anything that's happening right now is a lot better than it was before A-10 played last season. So obviously it's A-10 or bust for this team. They get a lot better as the season goes on under Howard. So just being able to get some of these key wins, I mean, it was going to be tough. Penn's probably going to win the Ivy. Temple is one of the best in the Big Five, probably just behind Nova. So 2 tough games, and the Explorers were in this one to the very end and lost by only 5.
This is true.
But it just comes down to some of their players like Hakeem, who is going to be such a great player. I mean, he's such a pest on the ball, but sometimes he's just a little too fast for himself with too many turnovers. But that's just part of the youth.
And was there anything else that you wanted to really say about, something that Coach Howard wants to put into the
something interesting that we found out was he's making all of his players shoot 100 free throws per game. So it's pretty impressive that he's trying to get them better at the free throw line and trying to get rid of their offensive woes. But definitely.
And then moving on to the women's side, I mean, they've been coming back from under. And I know we didn't see it in the Robert Morris game, but obviously we know they're capable of it after the Penn State game.
Just a second half team. They're outscoring opponents 170-120 in the second half. They're 2-1 when trailing with an overtime loss. So it's just very impressive this season.
Right.
The women's volleyball team swept Duquesne on Saturday to conclude their regular season. The opening frame was a shaky one for LaSalle until a kill from sophomore Elizabeth Osborne propelled the lead and eventually gave the Explorers the first set. The second set, LaSalle dominated in the middle, stretching and wedged on a 13-6 run, eventually taking the second set 25-13. The blue and gold also took the third set completely to complete the sweep. Osborne led the team with 18 kills. Also hitting double digits in the match included junior Samantha Graver with 14 kills and senior Catherine Edgington with 10.
After capturing the A-10 championship for the first time since 2011, the cross-country teams headed to the NCAA Mid-Atlantic Regionals to end their fall campaign. The women's team finished the impressive season with a strong 8th place. Once again, the Mancini sister power trio led the Explorers throughout the 6K course. Sophomore Liz Mancini was the first to cross the finish line for the blue and gold, coming in with a 13th place finish. Her twin sister Elle was not far behind, coming in next for the Explorers with a 34th place finish. Rounding it out for the Mancinis, senior Grace finished her collegiate cross-country career with a 36th place finish.
The men's team also impressed with a 9th place finish in the Mid-Atlantic Regionals. Junior Luke Jaku Zurakowski led the Explorers, earning 27th in the 191 runners with a time just under 31 minutes with a pace of under 5 minutes per mile. 24 seconds behind him was sophomore Ibrahim Kadir. Kadir was in 16th at the 8K mark, but fell 24 spots to end in 40th. Senior Anthony Hawthorne was within eyesight as he placed 45th, squeezing in under 31 minutes and 30 seconds. Junior Ryan James and freshman Alex Sandris rounded out the Explorers squad in 60th and 88th respectively. LaSalle's 9th place finish was the best in all the Atlantic 10.
Women's swimming and diving stayed at Kirk Pool to take on the Stony Brook. The Explorers defeated the Seawolves 170 to 129. Overall, there were 10 first-place results from the Explorers. Sophomore Sarah Rossetto took 3 first-place finishes. In the 200, she finished just under 2 minutes, and in the 200 back and 200 IM, she finished just over 2 minutes. Fellow sophomore Phoebe Shea also had multiple first-place finishers in the 1 meter and the 3 meter. Other sophomore standouts who placed first were Sarah Wyant and Ann Moser in the 50 and 500 free, respectively. Some freshmen who were able to rack up the first-place finishers were Nina Colegi and Bryn Peterson. Lone senior Emily Wolbert was the other first-place finisher to make it a total of 10 for the blue and gold.
The men's weren't too shabby themselves, bringing home 9 gold medals powered by some rookies. Freshman Trenton Burr racked up 2 golds in the 100 and 200 back, while his counterpart Sam Henninger took 2 more golds in the 1 meter and 3 meter, and those finished qualified Henninger for the NCAA Regional Diving Championship in the 1 meter dive. Henninger already finished in the 3 meter earlier this season, so he will compete in both representing LaSalle University.
The men's water polo team had their final regular season game against Fordham. The Rams took a quick lead in the match, scoring 4 goals in the first quarter, compared to the Explorers' 2 goals. Before half, Fordham extended its lead to 6 goals, where LaSalle only scored 1 goal during the quarter. The third quarter was a draw, with both teams each netting 3 goals. LaSalle attempted to come back in the fourth quarter, outscoring Fordham 4-2. It ended up not being enough as LaSalle lost the game 11-10 for the Explorers. Junior Cole Strawson dominated, leading the team in most categories, including scoring 6 goals, 2 assists, 3 steals, and 3 exclusions earned.
That's all we have for recaps, but don't go anywhere because we have an interview with a member of the 3-in-1 women's basketball team.
Fire and beauty, destruction and life. Something so magnificent you can't even look at it. My son of fire and passion, life until death. Something so magnificent you can't look away. Maybe because we don't look at the sun, we are afraid that we might not be able to let go of the beauty that just might end up destroying us.
Welcome back. LaSalle's men's basketball alum BJ Johnson signed a 2-way contract with the Orlando Magic, allowing him to play for the Lakeland Magic and Orlando Magic for the entire 2019-2020 NBA season.
Earlier this week, Isaiah Clark sat down with Kate Hill, who started the women's basketball team 21-point comeback against Penn State. Check it out.
On the sideline, my name's Isaiah Clark, and today I'm going to be sitting down with women's basketball's Kate Hill. I want to thank you for joining me.
Of course.
All right, so just to jump right into it, so you sat out last year because you transferred in from Rutgers, right?
Rutgers, yeah.
Okay. Can you talk about your experience just sitting out last year and then kind of coming and joining the team this year?
Obviously, it was hard sitting out last year. We also didn't have the greatest season, so it's kind of hard to watch and think that you can help them and not be able to get on the floor. But I worked hard. We worked hard in the off season. I worked with my coaches and my teammates, and taking the floor this year, we were just ready.
And can you talk about your coaches just a little bit there? Can you talk about what it's like playing under like Coach Melton? You know.
Yeah, he's the best. He came from Quinnipiac, and he was the assistant coach there, and now the head coach here. But being an assistant coach, you know, you kind of form a relationship with the players that are like, you know, friendly, and he really looks out for you, and he took that on as a head coach too, which is, I think, different than a lot of other head coaches do. Yeah, he's a great coach.
Yeah, and then going off of that as well, you know, you have two senior players, Sophie Nguanfa and Shalina Miller. Can you talk about like their leadership they bring to the team and how their play impacts everybody else?
Yeah, Shalina and Sophie are probably the two most vocal players on our team.
Right.
They're very, you know, they get their point across. They're, you know, loud, powerful. People listen to them. They show a lot of leadership in practice every day, and I think that shows in the game too.
But it also does seem like they also have like fun with you guys as well. Like,
Oh yeah, of course, of
yeah.
course.
Like I've seen you guys around, like and even at the men's basketball game, you guys seem to have like a lot of fun there as well.
Yeah, our team is very close. We do a lot of things, almost everything together, you know, off the court too. So.
All right. So you guys are coming off of a big game against a big Power 5 school at Penn State. You guys were down and you guys actually came back. Can you just talk about like what that experience was like? First, like playing someone like Penn State, and then also beating them as well.
Yeah. So I mean, Penn State's obviously a big school. I think that's probably the best crowd we've had all season. Clearly, we kind of went down 20 in like the second quarter. We were holding our own the first, and then we were down 20 the second and the third. The third, we started to chip away at the lead. Still was down a lot, but then the fourth, like 6 minutes left, the first unit went back out and really just turned it around, and I think it was just a matter of who wanted to win more, and I think our 5 players on the court showed that we did.
Yeah, and even outside of the Penn game, you guys have been playing really good like all season. Can you talk about that real quick?
Yeah, so we're 3-1, obviously.
Yeah.
Big difference than the beginning of last season.
Yeah.
But we've worked really hard in the preseason. We have a lot of new players, a lot of new talent, and I think we've just pieced it well together.
So aside from being an athlete, you're also a student.
Right.
Can you talk about like what you're doing in school, like what's your major?
I'm a communication major in the media track.
And are you have any plans after to do anything with that?
Honestly, my plans after are just to keep playing basketball, overseas.
Yeah.
That's the plan.
Sounds like a good plan to me. All right. Then you also have 2 freshmen on the team, the Jacob twins.
Yeah.
Can you talk about them real quick because they've been making a really good impact so far?
Yeah, they're 2 very big pieces to our team. 2 very different twin sisters. Claire and Amy are honestly complete opposites, but they work hard every day in practice too, and they're fun to play with on and off the court. So I mean, you know, they've done well for us so far.
And you guys have done a little bit of traveling. Can you talk about? I know you said Penn State was like your biggest crowd, but can you talk about like what's your favorite like environment to play in so far? Even last year, maybe just traveling with the team.
Yeah, honestly, I would have to say the Penn State crowd was probably the best, just because the atmosphere. It was loud in there. You know, we had people cheering against us, but I think people went in with the mindset that they didn't really care about any of that, and we just went and played.
And just going off that environment here, we're kind of trying to build that here at LaSalle as well. Can you talk about how it's like, you know, for homecoming, you guys played Robert Morris. Can you talk about what it was like playing in front of a home crowd like that?
Yeah, I thought we had a pretty decent crowd compared to last year, and you know, it's nice to, because our gym's kind of small, so the bleachers are right on the court and stuff. So it's nice having that. Hopefully the crowd just keeps building as we keep winning and we get more fans throughout the year.
Yeah. Okay. I want to thank you for joining me. It's been really fun. I'm going to send it back to the desk.
When we come back, Sean Kelly joins us on desk to talk about some playoffs. Is that how you do it?
I hope that.
When you miss an episode of Q&A, you get hungry. When you get hungry, you don't know what to eat. When you don't know what to eat, you get irritable. When you get irritable, you miss questions on your exam. Don't miss questions on your exam. Watch Q&A on Salle TV.
You know you watch. You shouldn't be watching this. You should be watching LaSalle TV. Hey, watch LaSalle TV. You know you watch.
Man, Keegan's taking this You Know You Watch thing way too seriously.
You know you watch LaSalle TV.
Compete in the MAWPC playoffs, first facing off against the top-seeded Bucknell on Friday, November 22nd at 3 o'clock.
The women's basketball team travels to Norfolk State on Friday, November 22nd, before hosting Coppin State on Tuesday, November 26th. The Explorers will end their Thanksgiving in the Navy Classic.
The men's basketball team will head down to Florida for the Gulf Coast Showcase, where they play 3 games in 3 days. First against Murray State on November 26th.
That's not all for the basketball team, as on Sunday, December 1st, the Explorers will travel to face Big 5 rival Villanova Wildcats. That can be seen on Fox Sports 1.
With all this happening in the upcoming weeks, we bring on Sean Kelly to break down this week's Explorer Report.
Thanks, Gia. In this week's Explorer Report, the LaSalle women's volleyball team will take on George Washington in the opening round of the Atlantic 10 Championship in Kingston, Rhode Island on Friday, November 22nd at 3:30 p.m. The Explorers were awarded the 5th seed in the quarterfinal matchup, while the George Washington Colonials were awarded the 4th seed. Volleyball finished the regular season with a 14-12 overall record, 8-6 in the Atlantic 10, while George Washington is right behind them in the standings with a 15-13 record overall and tied 8-6 in the Atlantic 10. Some key Explorers to look out for in this matchup are Samantha Graver, Rachel Hess, and Catherine Wood. Graver leads the team in kills this season with 359 along with 377 digs. Hess leads the team in digs with 441 and 26 aces. Wood continues to amp up her assist game as she has 1,335 this season. Meanwhile, for the Colonials, some key players to look out for are Skylar Ayat with 383 kills and Bella Bauman with 405 digs, 26 aces. The Explorers need to be aggressive in their defense, constantly moving throughout the plays and adjusting and anticipating the direction of the ball. The winner of this matchup will play VCU the following day.
Thanks, Sean. So yeah, I just want to set you up.
I got you.
Yeah, get it?
Don't
So let's talk a little bit about their previous playoff experiences.
Yes, so this is the first time this year in a while that the volleyball team has had a winning record. Their past previous seasons, they've been below 500. And last year, they had a playoff potential berth last year as they fell in the semifinals against Dayton. Right. But as we said, like, there is potential for this Explorers to go far in the playoffs. Like, this George Washington team is pretty tough as they face them this season. So we're looking forward to see like what they could do as they score off in the A10 quarterfinals.
Yeah, you're 100% right. I mean, for 20-plus seasons, it's been a little bit of a disappointment of just building it from the ground up. And then last season, their first playoff berth, they get the playoff win. And now this season, they have a chance to really shock the A10 for that standing. But they're going to have to go through Skylar Aya, as you mentioned. Mm-hmm. She is the second most kills in the A10, so that's going to be very impressive. But she's going to be up against probably Devin Cora, who's been the leading blocker this year. So she'll have to play a little bit of defensive volleyball here. And, of course, as we talk about almost every episode, Wood is just going to have to really control this offense for the team.
Yeah, I mean, do you think there's any underclassmen that are really going to have to step up in this matchup?
Well, I mean, not just underclassmen, but I think everybody should be stepping up regardless. I know the underclassmen should definitely be stepping up, but I feel like every player, no matter what, should be stepping up and play their game as if it's their last.
Yeah, and then it just comes down to playing a clean game. As we mentioned, is very impressive with all of her kills, but she also has 233 errors, which is 125 more than the second most on her team. Now, I know that she gets the ball a lot and she's always going to be attacking, so it's obvious that she'll have more errors, but it's going to be key for the Explorers to really capitalize on those errors and not give up any points, especially when they're playing away from their home court.
Yeah, and I mean, we have yet to beat George Washington this season, so I mean.
And I mean, they're 2-19 in the team's history. Of course, it was just building the program up, as I mentioned, but they haven't beaten them outside of Philadelphia since 2007. So it's going to be difficult. They're not playing at George Washington, thankfully. They'll be at Rhode Island, so it's a neutral location, but it's going to be big for this Explorers team to win them all without being in good old Tom Goal Arena.
Yeah, I mean, I think that that's probably going to be a negative for us, but we shall see. So let's move on to picks. So I picked George Washington, unfortunately, 3-1.
And the rest of us are pretty confident with the Explorers. I have LaSalle winning it in a best-of-5, 3-2.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just not confident just because we haven't beaten them this season, so.
What do you think?
Yeah.
Well, I'm not trying to copy off of you, but I feel like LaSalle is also going to take the dub in this series, 3-2.
All right, good.
I have plenty of confidence for the Explorers. I know that they have been doing well as far as like coming back goes, because I know previous games they have been falling short, like as they start the game, but they know how to build their way up as they go throughout the game.
Yeah, and I mean, they're above 500 in games that go to that fifth set, so they're really got to show how conditioned they are, and I think it'll be great in a first round win for the Explorers.
All right, yeah, well, thanks, Sean. Yep. That just about wraps it up for us this week. If you can't make it out to see the Explorer Report, be sure to tune in next week for our coverage. Keep up with this weekend's other sporting events by visiting goexplorers.com or check out this week's edition of The Collegian.
Also, check us out on Facebook at facebook.com/LaSalleTV and on Twitter at SportsLineLTV. We welcome you to send your thoughts and suggestions there. What is better, Thanksgiving food? What's better Thanksgiving food, sorry? Cornbread or mashed potatoes? Obviously cornbread.
It's obviously mashed potatoes. Cornbread's not even Thanksgiving food. But anyway, we are off next week, and we'll see you back the following week. It's going to be a really exciting holiday episode. So, for Miles, Isaiah, Sean, and our SportsLine team, I'm Gia Lancey.
And I'm Tyler Small, and we'll see you at the game.